Hiya, it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts, and today, as you can see, I have my Cuttlebug out because I have something a little different, I think, from Griffin to show you. I thought you might be interested to see this new product that she's brought out. So it involves my Cuttlebug. A lot of you may know that she's been working with Cricut, and therefore Cuttlebug and the Cricut machine as well. And she's been making embossing folders, Cricut cartridges, designs, etc, etc. Dies for the Cuttlebug, or well, any of your cutting machines will work. This particular one is an embossing folder set. There's just a little bit different, something that I haven't seen before particularly, and I thought it'd be fun to share. So I will actually just move that out the way for a minute and just pop this down and show you what it entails. So what you get is the embossing folder. In this case, because it's a set, we're getting 4 of these particular embossing folders, and they incorporate these big holes. So you've got square ones, 2 with square holes, and I'll show you the insides in a minute, and 2 with these kind of lovely label shape, which is really cool. So on the inside you've got these gorgeous designs, and she's bringing some more out. These are kind of this season, and then she's bringing some more out in the summer, I understand, and then a Christmas collection as well. So then you've got this, and then this one, that's beautiful, and then this one. Okay, so then you've got your sort of actual main folder. Then you've got these little pieces here. So you've got 2 sets of the label shape and 2 sets of the square shape. Now I'll just show you one bundle, just one little set. So in the bundle you get 2 pairs. They're marked A and B. And it's pretty obvious that they go together. So the but you always need an A side and a B side. And what you get is sort of the emboss. This is again for the embossing. So you get the embossing image. So that's the right way up. That's one side, and then this is the reverse of that, which then sort of sits on top of that and makes the embossing actually work. So you've got the pair. So we've got here for my dad, and then get well soon. So there's 3 sets in each one of those little packs, and that's deepest sympathy. So then we've got happy birthday to you, happy Easter, thank you. And then we're going on to our label shapes, and another happy birthday to you, I love you, and for my mum. And that's the American spelling, and that's the one thing that I wasn't too pleased about, was that I think that having brought it over to this country, that it ought to be adjusted to spell correctly, because that one is completely useless to me. So I wouldn't have minded had I been told, but that wasn't even mentioned when you purchased it. It wasn't said oh, that one's with the American spelling. Oh my goodness, I can't get this open. Okay, so we got a thank you again. And some of these obviously are repeat sentiments, but with the different shapes. Just for you. And best wishes. Okay, so that's all the sentiment part embossing folders, kind of folders. And then you get your 2 dies. And these 2 dies match the shape of the hole. So in this case you've got your oblong and then you've got your kind of label shape. So that'll match in there perfectly. Okay, so what we do is we take an embossing folder that we like, the actual folder. So I'm going to pick this one just because I did, and it's the square one. And on it you can see that there's marked an A on one side and a B on the other side. And you do get also a sheet with the instructions on, so you don't need to remember this. But so what we need to do is you've chosen your embossing folder, and then you have a choice of, because we've got the oblong shape, and we've got a choice of all the sentiment that we can use with this particular folder. So I've picked Get Well Soon, and on here we've also got it marked A and B. So what we want to do is take our A, and we're going to snap our A side into our A side with the A arrow matching the A arrow on that one. Hopefully you can just catch that. So they're both pointing upwards, and we want to just make sure it's really snapped in nicely because you don't want it falling out. And then we're going to take our B side, and we're just going to, again, making sure that it's the correct way up, which it is, we're going to snap that in to that side. So now we have a complete embossing folder. So we can emboss that just as it is. So let's do that first of all so we can see exactly how this is going to turn out. Okay, so I've got my Cuttlebug out, and we're going to put down our A plate and then our embossing folder with our piece of card in. So I've got this sort of nice sort of pearl cardstock. I've got 2 different colours because we're going to be doing some different options here. So let's put this one in first. So that goes in next. And then we've got our B plate. Okay, so then we're going to just pop that through like so. And then I'll just move this out the way so that we can show you what this looks like. And there we have our frame and then our chosen sentiments. So the option is obviously that we can mix and match our sentiments as what we want for any particular occasion. And you can see how beautifully deep this embossing has come out. I mean, look at it on the reverse. You could really easily just use the deboss side as well, apart from obviously your words would be back to front, but it's just absolutely stunning, especially on this pearlescent card. Pearlescent card is really good for embossing because it really works well. Okay, so that's your option 1, is just simple, put the pieces together and emboss it. So then the next thing that we can do is exactly the same. So again, we have our get well soon on our piece of card with our frame. However, this time we're going to take our die and we're going to cut that centerpiece out so that we could perhaps pop that centerpiece up on our card with 3D foam. It could be that I think, well, those two go quite nicely together. I will cut both the centers out and swap them round, or I don't want a center in this particular card. I want it like a hole, so just a frame with a hole. So I cut it out and then I'll put the sentiment in my scraps box to use for another card later on. So you've got that option as well. So we're gonna just pop that sandwich together. So we want the A plate, our rubber mat, our B plate, and our die and material, making sure it's in the right position, and then our B plate on top of that. So just want to make sure that I'm happy with the position of that. Now you could tape it down, but just for the purposes of today I'm not going to. It's just because, you know, I'm just trying to be reasonably quick. Just a show and tell video really, isn't it? It's not really meant to be perfect. And don't worry about those noises, that's just where it's cutting into our cutting plate. Is perfectly normal. Don't panic and think you're breaking it or anything. Okay, and then if you look, you then have your die cut, the light's catching it now, with your sentiment on it, and then your frame with a hole in the middle. So that's sort of 3 options there we've had, because we could obviously just pop that up, we could swap those round, so there's all different options. Now it has slightly flattened the embossing and it does give an alternate sandwich, so it might be worth trying that, because what it suggests you could do, and the reason it can be is because if this is like cardstock as opposed to paper, so that will make a difference, is that you could replace one B plate and your rubber mat with your C plate, and that will be slightly thinner, and it might then, if you've got thicker cardstock like I had there, it might stop that flattening out. So it's worth experimenting just a little bit before you you know, do your final bit. Now just to say, your C plate, it does not come as standard with your Cuttlebug, so it is something that you would need to purchase separately. Okay, so that's your 2 options there. Then the last kind of option, I mean, let's say 2 options, but there was all sorts of different versions of that we could do. Then the last thing is to pop those out. And in fact, I think what I'll do is I'll use a different one just for the sheer heck of it, because I can. And you just get one without, and you don't put the centerpiece in. So we'll grab that and we'll just pop that in there. Pop it on the A plate and then a B plate on top of that, and then wind that through. And then we have got a gorgeous embossed frame with a blank area in the centre which we could stamp on, we could put an image over, we could use this as a background, and that's the centerpiece for our image or our die cuts or whatever. So you've got another option there as well. And again, with this, if you wanted to, you could actually then cut that piece out and because what you're not seeing on here is the shape, this shape here, because that's circular, well, oval really, you're not really picking up this shape here, that lovely label shape. So if you then cut that out in the middle, that might come out looking sort of a little bit different, a bit nice for a change. And what I thought I'd try is cutting this with the different plate option, just to see. So we will use the A plate, then the C plate, and then our die, our piece of paper, and our die, and then the B plate. And then we'll see, oops, that did move. And we'll see if that just doesn't quite flatten that as much, because that really did flatten that out last time, and that's probably because my card was so much thicker. Oh yeah, that's much better. Can you see on this one it hasn't flattened my embossing at all, but we've cut that centerpiece out just fine. I mean, I think it slid over to the side bit, but obviously if we were doing this for a proper project, you'd stick that down. And also look, you've got this gorgeous tag, which again is another option, is just to use the dies on their own. So with this set, and as I say, there's more sets to come in the future, you have got lots and lots of options. So I hope that you found this interesting and you've enjoyed having a look at these new embossing folders. I'm not really sure what she calls them, to be honest. I kind of call them clip and snap, but I don't really know what she calls them. But I hope you've enjoyed having a look, and I will see you again soon. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.